You go and paintball, I'll finish the door.
I mean it, have fun.
Could we first take a moment to examine your choice? Are you, Maya, avoiding paintball because you feel guilty for enjoying an activity in which your son could not participate?
I mean, perhaps on some level, yeah.
And what are the two kinds of guilt?
Healthy/appropriate and unhealthy/inappropriate.
See, JJ is having fun, so any guilt related to his experience must be
Unhealthy?
That's right. And when we let our actions be dictated by unhealthy guilt, we
Choose a course that causes true harm, right? Yes, just like my mother. All right, screw it. Let's go and do paintball, shall we?
Woo! Guys, Minnie Driver's here.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me very much.
What a fun clip that was to watch.
Yeah, that was a good clip. That took a long time to shoot because little Kyla Kennedy, you know, she'd never been in therapy. So we had to explain to her how therapists speak. It was good. It was fun.
So Speechless is now, in that group of ABC comedies that are just killing it. You got Fresh Off the Boat, Blackish, Speechless, Modern Family. Tell me a little bit about being a part of ABC and, their goals to be more inclusive. And this show is, adding into the fold.
Well, I felt like, certainly recently, and I feel like there's a lot of people who felt the hashtag of inclusivity and of diversity has become nominal, and you need to see people who are acting on it and actually putting their money where their mouth is and creating programming that reflects what people are feeling. And I think ABC are doing that. I really do. And it's not often that I'm not pretending by any stretch that what I do for a living is doing what doctors or nurses, for example, do. But there's a level of social message in this show that I think is really important, and the fact that it is predominantly expressed through humor that's a really good way of including everyone.
So tell me about getting a part of this show, and let's let everybody know. If you're not watching Speechless, then there's a problem, guys. You should be. But let's give everybody at home and here a little glimpse of what the show is about.
So it's about a family who have a certain set of challenges that most families have a certain set of challenges. Ours include having a child who has cerebral palsy, uses a wheelchair and is nonverbal. We don't have any money. We move into the crappiest house in a fancy neighborhood so our kids will qualify to go to a good public school. And the mother who I play is, like most of the women I've met who have children with special needs, she's a force to be reckoned with, because you have to be when you're dealing with the societal boundaries that we've set up that really don't include people with disabilities. However, it's not an afternoon special type of show. It is very, very funny. It's wry and clever and well observed, and it's not sappy in any way, shape, or form. And the fact that one of the lead characters has special needs is not just what the show is about at all. And I think that's what makes it good. It's kind of meta in the way that you change people's minds about a subject by getting on with it, not shining a giant light on it and saying, everybody look, but rather make people laugh, be in their houses, midweek on a Wednesday, and see how we can start interacting differently.
What has it meant for you to be a part of the show and to work with, the actor who plays your son, JJ?
Yeah.
He actually has cerebral palsy himself, although he is verbal, correct?
He is.
What's it been like to work with him? Because he is a standout on the show. It's really
he's amazing.
Special.
He's amazing. I mean, I can't impress this young man. He doesn't complain. Our hours are very, very long. He's sitting all day long, and he's funny and kind and interesting. It takes a long time to have a conversation with him. It's an enormous effort for him to speak, but there's nothing wrong with being reminded that immediacy of communication is not always where it's at. I mean, we live in a time of our phones and computers and instant live everything. To have a patient conversation with Micah is one of my favorite parts of the day.
And tell me what it's like working with him, as well as the other child actors on set, being a mom yourself. How has this role sort of affected you?
Look, I have a difficult relationship with children acting, just because it is an extremely adult environment, and I like kids to be doing kid things. But that having been said, the families and the kids that make this choice to act, they are absolutely wonderful. Mason Cook and Kyla Kennedy and Micah Fowler they come from lovely families and they're good people. But it's a lot, you know, they're kids and I swear a lot. And I try not to, but I sort of have the caveat of, listen, you're in this adult place and I don't want the themes to be beyond what you are exposed to, but there we are, and here we are, you know.
And how is your character different than yourself? Is she a swearer? I know she's very much out there. She stands up for her family, and she'll do anything to make her son's life easier and better. Are you that in life?
I mean, I would advocate for my son, as any parent would, like a lioness. You know, Maya's she's difficult because she has to push very hard against boundaries and obstacles that her kid experiences. But it's funny, a lot of actresses didn't want to play this part because they felt that she was unlikable. And I have a difficult relationship with the idea of women being unlikable because it's a moniker that's never thrown at men. When women are strong and fight for things, those are deemed qualities that you'd admire in a man, and yet with a woman you're called a bitch or you're called unlikable. So I think that's nonsense. I think playing strong women who push hard and demand and want things for their children, you can see when someone's behaving badly. We all behave badly, and this character I play does, but you understand why she does it. She's a fallible, faulted human being, and for me that's where the best comedy lies anyway. The best characters that are funny are not perfect.
And I love that the fact that she's unlikable and you chased after the role.
100%.
Because there's, it's so hard to find those strong female characters.
Particularly when you're of a certain age and they want you to be the wife or the mother. It's usually the super underwritten role that's patronizing to women and is just putting forth a sort of boring stereotype of what it is to be a middle-aged woman. I think television is doing that right now. I think it is exploding all of those ideas of limits. There's never been a better time to be a woman on television than now. And oh, thanks. Yeah.
And you were, of course, on About a Boy and The Riches. Do you find that you're drawn sort of to the characters on television versus in film?
I'll be really honest with you. I'm drawn to a regular paycheck and being near where my kid is. I'm dead serious, man. Like, making an independent movie these days, they'll pay you in turnips. I mean, I can't pay my mortgage in turnips. I got to have actual money coming in, and I got to do something that I love, and I got to be a good role model for my kid, and I want to be near my boyfriend and his kids, and there are all these things as your life expands. You go, I'd love to say I'm just off making these incredible movies in this rarefied world, but it's not really who I am. It's not how my life works, and I want to do good and interesting work, and right now that is on television. Unless you're in a franchise of a huge company or making a horror film where your bum gets sewn onto someone else's head, then, you know what I mean? The human centipede, something or other.
Yeah. Who wants to be in that?
Oh. I don't know. This really is amazing, and I've been lucky enough to get great roles in television. So. And
the creator of Speechless, of course, Scott Silveri, created Friends, or he wrote for Friends, yeah. Joey, and go on. Mm-hmm. So tell me why you think the writing on this show, is so good, because it really touches on a sensitive subject, but brings it, like you said, through comedy, with a little bit of drama, of course. But
yeah. So Scott Silveri, who is the creator of the show, it's based on experiences in his life. He grew up with a family member who was nonverbal, cerebral palsy. And this is loosely based on his experiences, but nonetheless, he has a first-hand understanding of what it is to be an able-bodied child in a special needs family, of what that looks like. And certainly we have consultants on the show who have special needs, who are able-bodied, and who definitely reflect the truth of what life is like. And certainly the social media, the people that have reached out, it's incredible. It's incredible how much humor breaks down the boundaries between how we separate ourselves into able-bodied, disabled. We're all people, and it's very normal for a person who uses a wheelchair to be in a bloody wheelchair. And us sort of going, oh, golly, I'm so sorry. It's like, we need to stop doing that and start going, this is another version of life, and we can all be inclusive about that.
Thank you, guys. Wonderful. And, you know, we've seen a little bit of, you know, on Glee, they had a character in a wheelchair.
Yeah, except he could walk.
Breaking Bad.
He was, I found that to be unutterably awful.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many actors, disabled actors with special needs. Glee was a wonderful show, but I think that was a huge misstep to use an able-bodied actor and to present them as disabled.
So,
sorry.
No, I totally agree, which is why I brought it up, because, you know, we saw in Breaking Bad, of course, RJ Mitty was on there, and he was disabled, and it sort of opened that door. Why is that door always being closed? Can you kind of speak on that a little bit, being a part of a show?
Do you know, I can only speak from, like, being honest about my attitudes, and if we're all really honest about it, no one knows how to interact with somebody who uses a wheelchair who looks completely different to us. You don't know if they have a cognitive disorder or if it's just their body or I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to interact, therefore I won't interact. There's this brilliant thing that the Cerebral Palsy Foundation are doing. It's a really simple program where they are just pushing, it's called Smile and Say Hi, and that is literally what it is. It's like, if we able-bodied people start acknowledging and interacting in just a simple way, you don't have to start asking what's going on and how did you get here and how is it, blah, blah, blah. But rather as you would any other person, someone in the coffee shop. I mean, maybe not in New York or London, nobody says hello to anyone, but, you know, in friendlier places.
Friendly city of New York.
In the Midwest. I don't know. I mean, I think it's good to break down boundaries. I think we have a difficult time with people who use wheelchairs and who seem different from us and therefore avoid it. And I think it's not like you have to get the whole life story, but I think we can start being more inclusive with our attitude. And then I think that will be reflected in the way that the world is set up for people with special needs.
And will you kind of be tackling some of these ideas through storylines on Speechless this season?
I don't know, because there's this brilliant, yes, I mean, we do, but by virtue of the fact of comedy. Comedy comes first on our show. The social message is a byproduct of the situation that we're telling, but it's funny, you know, Scott doesn't really let anything get by that. It's not, like I've said this before, it's not after school special, let's tug at people's heartstrings and have a sort of sappy idea so that we can continue to sort of feel bad or have a negative idea of what it is to be disabled. It's what's going to be funny, and funny wins. Funny wins the day. So there will be storylines that probably reflect some of the challenges, but they're emotional as well. It's like there's a whole storyline where I have a really hard time letting go of my kid, and he really wants to be let go of. He's nonverbal, but he's a teenager. He wants to look at girls' bums and like get on a date and like get with someone, and like it's really hard to make that happen. And there's good, interesting teenage familial stuff going on in our show, which I think is, I think it's different because of the way it's being presented, but nonetheless it is extremely wry and funny.
Yeah. And the supporting cast is incredible too, because you know
They're
you
amazing.
have you as Maya and JJ, but then Maya also has 2 other children and a husband.
Yeah, my husband.
Not as crazy as she is, but talk a little bit about their stories and how did you kind of get into that mindset of being a mother, not only to one child with cerebral palsy, but you have to, you know, of course, focus on your other 2 children and their storylines within the script.
Well, I mean, the thing is that she doesn't. She totally leaves out those other 2 kids, and that was partly in the pilot. But you start creating these dynamics between Ray, who is the sort of old man, 14-year-old of the show, who's beleaguered and knows that his brother is actually, he's a total brat sometimes. We get to see JJ, you know, he's not a perfect kid. We don't always feel sorry for JJ because he uses his situation, he manipulates people, and it's funny. My husband is a really clever, funny actor called John Ross Bowie, who he played a character called Kripke on The Big Bang Theory for a while, but he's so much more than that. It's a difficult role to play the counterpart to this sort of hurricane of a wife without being a kind of eye-rolling husband. He's great. He holds a weird kind of absurd space, and I really like him. And Cedric Yarborough, who plays my kid's voice, he's one of the great comedic actors working today, I think. I think people will recognize him from tons of movies and stuff, but he's amazing.
Must be a lot of fun on set with all these, well, adults and children, like you said. Do the adults kind of have to always be cautious of what they're saying and doing?
No, mate. You just have to tell the parents, I'm really sorry if I curse horribly in your child's face today in between takes. I apologize. I love them. And that's just the deal.
Yeah.
But we have a good time. It's a good crew of people. See, it's a really good squad, actually. I love them a lot.
And have the kids have they come to you yet and gotten advice on acting and kind of...
No, they get it, though, whether they like it or not. It's like, oi, knock it off. Get off your phone and listen. It's my coverage, little boy. Oi. I do, no, I mean, because here's the thing. You know, when you're young, and now you've got all this instant access, and it's really easy to become distracted, particularly when we're on set. And I have absolutely no truck with that. We're working. And when you're doing a scene, I don't care if the camera's on you or not, we're working and we're a company and we're doing stuff together. And if you're on your phone, Instagramming, I'm in between takes, I'm gonna punt that phone out of the Fox lot and all the way to Warner Brothers.
Because it must be so different because, you know, you being in the business for so long now, how has it changed?
I am.
How has it changed for you to see, like, you know, these other actors
Oh,
on set
back
with
when,
their...
you know, when the
Back in the
talkies
day.
first started, it was, yeah. How has it changed? Well, you used to get paid for movies. There used to be a middle class of movie making, which has now become those movies like Grosse Pointe Blank. I feel like Netflix would be making that movie today. Like, the whole middle class where I lived, Good Will Hunting, Grosse Pointe Blank, Circle of Friends, it doesn't really exist anymore. It's super low budget or it's crazy high tentpole stuff. But there's always good stuff being written. And if you look at it like it's a marathon and not a sprint, and also if you're not that attached, I don't need people to think I look like I'm 22. I'm not 22, I'm 46. And I think you keep a really positive attitude about the thing that you love to do. And in a way, you know, it's like that scene in, it's like the Kevin Costner movie, and it's like the scene in Indiana Jones when he can't see the bridge and he just has to take a step. You just do that every day. And you know that you trust that it'll be there if you love it and and I think if you're good, I do think that wins out, even if you look like an old hag, which I will end up looking like.
No. Never.
I will.
Are you into this whole streaming, Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, all of these things mixed in with the traditional medium of television?
I mean, yeah, but I'm also into like I do not watch a single show live. I mean, everything is DVR'd, or I'll watch it on Netflix. It's so. Who freaked out the other day? One of the teenagers in my life freaked out that they couldn't watch another episode of something because it wasn't on until the following week. And he just couldn't get his head around it. But it's...
That's how it used to be, guys. We used to have to wait to watch the shows we love.
Exactly, as opposed to kind of glutting out on them and staying up until 4 a.m. because you have to finish the season.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I do it, I have to say.
We all do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of great and also kind of awful, but more great.
Yeah. What are some of the shows that are great to binge watch for you?
Oh my God, I binge watch Veep. I could watch that show. I mean, I do. I just think it's the cleverest, funniest. I started out my career working on a fake news show for the Armando Iannucci, who created Veep, produced, called The Day to Day, and you should YouTube it because it is utterly brilliant. I was in that a little bit. You know, I'm a total throner. I
you were telling me backstage that she was at the an after party after the Emmys and was hanging out with the Game of Thrones cast casually.
They're so unimpressed by, I mean, they're so annoyed. I was just another simpering idiot in a big dress going, I love you. Can I get a picture? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, that scene when you like save him. I can't. Like a fool, and they were all sitting at one table, and they all collectively looked round like that. It must happen to them all day long. But I will say, Emilia Clarke is hands down the most beautiful woman I have ever seen in my life, in the flesh. You want to poke her to see if it's real. She's like buttermilk and rainbows. And I love her. Inside and out, man. She's just, and I mean, the rest of them are exactly as you'd imagine.
Yeah.
Kit Harington just makes your jaw drop.
Yeah.
And Gwendolyn, Brienne of Tarth, is just a heavenly, very slender mountain. She's amazing. I mean, yeah. So that.
We got to get you on Thrones. We got to find you a role.
I tried. Trust me. You're preaching to the Game of Thrones choir.
Yeah. I'm like, who doesn't want to be on Game of Thrones, right?
Everybody and their wife does. Yeah.
Well, before I pass it to the audience, John Krasinski hosted this live read of Good Will Hunting, and Ben and Matt showed up to read, but you weren't there. Emily Blunt read your part. What the heck?
I know. You know what's funny is I did that film series. They do it in Los Angeles. Elvis Mitchell hosts it in LA and New York, and I got to play the Faye Dunaway role in Network quite recently, and I would say, hands down, it is a better role than Skylar in Good Will Hunting. So I think it's all good. Plus, I'm not sure that movie being read, I'm not sure what it is without Elliott Smith's music, Danny Elfman's soundtrack, Gus's direction. But I hope they had a good time.
It's still one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's a great
Anyone
movie.
else out there love Good Will Hunting? Yeah. I saw you were at what was Tribeca Film Festival.
Yeah.
And they had a screening of it.
They did.
Is it cool to
came in.
watch it?
Yeah, man. It's like, it's one of the most beautiful, it's an amazing thing to make what I think is probably a classic movie. I don't know that too many actors get to do that in their life. It was one of the most beautiful times making a piece of work. An amazing collection of people. Matt and Ben are very, very talented.
What are they like, Matt and Ben? Don't we all want to be in that friendship? Tell us
I don't
everything.
really know them anymore. They were lovely boys. I don't really know them. They're big fancy movie stars. They seem like they're very nice people.
We'll leave it at that. Well, I guess I'll never get to talk to them. Who has questions for Minnie?
Hi, Minnie. How do you feel that we as a society can mitigate the challenges that families with special needs children face? How do you think we can make it easier for their everyday life experience?
I think by being less patronizing in our approach when we approach, less fearful about what it means to meet someone who I sure know just from my own point of view of having met a lot of people now who have cerebral palsy, it affects your muscles. Your muscles do not develop, your brain does not connect, the synapses do not connect. It looks like their body is in pain and they don't have any control over it. And yet, cognitively, 90% of the time, they are absolutely there. And we need to remember that. So education is a big part of it, of learning. And like I said, starting in small ways, I think of us just smiling and saying hello. If you catch someone's eye, maybe you'll smile at them. I think we have to be sensitive and not overly politically correct as well. It's a really difficult balance, but we can do it because it is being done. And inclusivity often is just about asking questions and our own curiosity and interest and humanity. How do we make friends with people that we meet at a dinner party? Maybe not seeing their disability as being their only defining factor, but thinking about who they are inside first.
Yeah. Who's next?
Hi, Minnie. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
What are some of the charities you're proud to work with?
You know what? I've worked with Oxfam, it is the oldest charity in Great Britain since I was about 9 years old. I was doing sponsored swims for them and collecting money, and I became an ambassador for them quite a long time ago. I've traveled to Southeast Asia and to Vietnam and Thailand and Cambodia. They are so effective and amazing. I like places that get involved with grassroots organizations in the countries in which they work, that are empowering the local people, that are not just providing aid, but creating infrastructure that is going to benefit them over time. And I hope and think that I will always work with them. I'm pretty passionate about women's rights and children's working rights, that it's not right, but the conditions under which they work in developing countries.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And guys,
having me.
Speechless is on Wednesdays.
Yeah, 8:30 on
Make sure
ABC.
to check it out. It's a great show. Thank you so much, Minnie. Thank you.
Thank you.